It's overseas, too, on their website. Thank you so much, Pete. A bill designed to protect newborns against infanticide defeated on the Senate floor last night. Senate Democrats blocked the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which would have required doctors to treat infants that were born after failed abortions. Melissa Ohden is an abortion survivor herself and the founder of the Abortion Survivors Network, and she joins us now. Good to see you again, Melissa. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ainsley.
You are here today because you survived an abortion. Tell us your story.
I am 41 years old. I survived a failed saline infusion abortion back in 1977 that was meant to poison and scald me to death from the outside in. I actually endured that procedure over a 5-day period. On the 5th day, my biological mother's labor was induced with the intent of me being expelled from the womb as a deceased child, and accidentally, I was born alive.
How did you find out this story?
I was actually 14, so I'm adopted. My parents were told, of course, about what I had survived and that the doctors had a poor prognosis for my future. And so they knew that when they adopted me, but, you know, lovingly took me into their hearts and their home. But yeah, I was 14 when the truth came tumbling out through unplanned circumstances. And, you know, I'm the first person to admit, Ainsley, it was absolutely devastating.
I'm sure. Well, you've spent your life's work now making sure that this doesn't happen to other babies. Democrats blocked the Republican bill. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, I was there right outside Chambers last night when they voted. And, you know, I was disappointed. I still am today, but I'm certainly not surprised. I think the Democrats who voted last night against this bill really showed us that they're willing to sacrifice lives like mine to keep abortion on demand right there.
I mean, this is unbelievable because this says when your child is born, in your case, it would be you being born, your mom and her doctors could have decided not to provide you medical care. That has to really hit hard.
Well, and the Democrats continue to say things, right, like this is unnecessary. I mean, I'm living proof that this is necessary. And I'm actually going to be meeting a nurse later today in Minnesota who was there in the neonatal intensive care unit when another nurse rushed me in. In her words, she said she just kept gasping for breath, and I couldn't just leave her there to die.
And tell us about your life since. You have your own children. You're a mom. Generations are affected.
They are. You know, I have 2 little girls, 10 and 4, and you know, I look upon their lives every single day and know that they never would have lived if that nurse that day wouldn't have been willing to rush me off to the NICU. You know, no child should have their hands left in the hands of their abortionist or a medical professional to somehow decide to provide them medical care. We need this bill not only to ensure we're provided medical care, but that there's penalty when there's failure to do so.
Are you somewhat thankful for this conversation? I know we were all, many of us were appalled when we heard the governor of Virginia say what he said about a baby being born at the very end and making the decision not to allow that child to survive. And we were all, most of us, many of us were horrified, especially those of us who are mothers. But are you glad this conversation is out there so that we can have a dialogue?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really unfortunate that we're seeing this legislation sweep across the nation and the Democrats block this bill. But you're right, Ainsley, it's a great opportunity to have a really in-depth conversation about late-term abortion, about infants who survive abortions. And, you know, this is just the beginning. That's what I was talking to the Republicans about last night outside Chambers, right? We're going to continue to have this conversation. We're going to continue to see bills like this introduced. And, you know, I have great hope because we have great Republican legislators who are committed to life. The president is so committed to life. And really, our nation is full of people who identify as being pro-life and are wanting to do something about it.
Melissa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know as a Baptist minister, you have spoken out against abortion. You're pro-life. We just interviewed a lady who's been on our show before. She is an abortion survivor, and she was on reacting to the Democrats blocking that Republican bill. Listen to what she had to say on our show just a few minutes ago.
I have 2 little girls, 10 and 4, and you know, I look upon their lives every single day and know that they never would have lived if that nurse that day wouldn't have been willing to rush me off to the NICU. You know, no child should have their hands left in the hands of their abortionist or a medical professional to somehow decide to provide them medical care. We need this bill not only to ensure we're provided medical care, but that there's penalty when there's failure to do so.
Yeah, Governor, her mother went in for an abortion. It took 3 days of saline injections, and then she was induced and delivered a child that had survived all of that miraculously. And that was the lady we just interviewed. What's your reaction?
Well, I wish all of those 44 Democrats would look her in the eye and tell her that they wish she was never born. I mean, that's basically what they're saying with voting against this bill. And let me be very clear. Even if I was not a Christian, if I didn't have spiritual and biblical convictions about life, my gosh, I'm a human being. I'd like to think that we are a civilized enough people that we're not going to go the way of the Canaanites. I think if the Democrats continue on this path, they should rename their party the Canaanite Party and give credit to the Canaanites of ancient days. They murdered babies, but they thought they were doing it in their religious superstition, so they at least had some more noble purpose in their own minds than just their convenience and just the fact that they wanted to get rid of an unwanted child that maybe someone else would have wanted. I find this so appalling, and if the Democrats are going to base their 2020 election on the killing of a fully developed child, then I say let the games begin. And there are a lot of Democrats in this country, a lot of them, who do not share those convictions and are appalled by this new venture into infanticide.
And just so you know, Tammy Duckworth on the pushback says this bill is an attempt to bully doctors out of giving reproductive care. We know the partisan extremist playbook comes out of this, one based not in fact but in fiction, steeped in ignorance and misogyny. The goal here is obvious: to bully doctors out of giving care, to scare them out of business. And that was her take on what Ben Sasse actually introduced.
Yeah, Brian, there's nothing reproductive about killing a baby. That's where they've taken language and destroyed it. It's not reproductive. It's counterproductive to reproduction when you kill the thing that's being reproduced. I mean, that is on its face ridiculous for her to say something like that. And it's ridiculous for these Democrats to defend infanticide. And God help them for doing so.
Yeah, they love to talk about being on the right or wrong side of history. I think we know where they are on this one. Governor Mike Huckabee, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.